Period, we are ready for language lesson 166. We are jumping into our second lesson of final review for the year, and we have 3 more lessons to go, then your final test. Your final test is going to be on Monday, so we are wrapping this up very soon here. Let's go ahead and just go over some things here that will be in your lesson today and some things that you want to make sure you know for the test and as we finish out the year. So I'm going to remember with review, it's a lot of questions and answering. So even though I'm not with you and I can't hear you answer the questions, and even though you're not here and you can't respond and all help each other, I'm going to go over these things, ask you questions, and you just go ahead and act like you're with me and you answer the questions the best that you can. If you mess up and I tell you something different, that's good. Then you learned what it is and hopefully you can remember it. And so let's just go ahead and do our best with whatever we can learn and review and know better from the review classes that we have here. So let's go ahead and get started. The things we're going to go over today are modifiers, pronouns, degrees of comparison, subject-verb agreement, and sentences. So first of all, what is a modifier? What are we talking about when we talk about a modifier? Modifiers are words that describe other words, okay? Sometimes we call them describing words and sometimes we call them modifiers. So what are some types of words or parts of speech that are considered modifiers? Adjectives and adverbs are modifiers because they describe or they modify other words, okay? Now let's just talk a little more deeply about adjectives and adverbs. So what is an adjective? What would the definition be for that? An adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun, okay? And it answers specific questions when it describes them. So what questions does it answer? Which one, what kind, how many, how much, and whose? Okay, now an adverb. What is an adverb? An adverb is a word that modifies or describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Okay, now what questions does an adverb answer? Where, when, how often, and to what extent? Okay? Now, what is a pronoun? A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. Okay? So maybe instead of using someone's name, you say she. We have pronouns like I, you, he, she, it, we, they. Those are considered subjective pronouns. Those are the kind that are used as subjects. Okay? Then we have objective pronouns. Those are used as direct objects, indirect objects, things like that. And those are me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. Okay, and then the third kind of pronoun we have is possessive pronouns, which means they own something. And the possessive pronouns are words like my, mine, your, yours, his, her, hers, its, theirs. There may be some more that I'm missing here. But words that show ownership that take the place of another noun, of another word. Now, degrees of comparison. You're working with that in your lesson today on page 293 in Remember C. It says write the comparative and superlative degrees. So what are we talking about when we talk about that? We have, first of all, a word like fun, for example, and then the comparative degree would be like more fun. That would be the comparative degree. Then the superlative degree would be most fun, okay? So we have the second degree comparative is a little bit more, and then superlative is kind of the most or the top of that. Okay, then we have subject-verb agreement. So what do we mean when we talk about subject-verb agreement? What are we meaning when we talk about that? Subject-verb agreement means that if you have a plural subject, you also need to have a plural verb. And if you have a singular subject, you also need to have a singular verb. But how can you tell? Now, for our subjects, when we have a noun like dog, if we only have one dog, whatever it is that we're talking about, one plant, one desk, most times it does not end in S. And as soon as it becomes plural, most times it does end in S. Desks, dogs, plants, things like that. But for verbs, it's the opposite of that. When you have a verb that is plural, it does not end in S most times. When you have a verb that is singular, most times it does end in S. So remember that they are switched around. Make sure if you have a singular subject, you need to have a singular verb. And if you have a plural subject, you need to have a plural verb. Sentences. First of all, we have run-on sentences, we have fragments, and we have complete sentences. And what is the difference between those three? So first of all, run-on is a sentence that is too long. Maybe you have too many thoughts in one sentence, and it goes on and on. That is called a run-on sentence, and that is not proper. You don't want to use that in your writing or your speaking. A fragment is a sentence that is not a complete thought. Okay? It does not give your complete, the thought there is not complete. Maybe, for example, after eating, what are you saying? We know something is going to happen or something, but we don't know what, okay? That is a fragment, that is an incomplete sentence. A complete sentence is when you have your subject and verb and a complete thought. It makes sense. You know what is supposed to be being said. You know what is being said. So then when we have complete sentences, we also have different types of them. What are the 4 types of sentences? We have declarative, imperative, exclamatory, and interrogative. Now, what is each kind? What does each kind do? So what is an imperative sentence? What does an imperative sentence do? An imperative sentence gives a command. Okay? Please go shut the door. What about an interrogative sentence? An interrogative sentence asks a question, ends in a question mark. What about an exclamatory sentence? An exclamatory sentence shows sudden or strong feeling, and it ends in an exclamation mark. And then a declarative sentence just simply states something. We went to the park, and it ends in a period, okay? So, in your sentence, yes, probably that too, but in your lesson 166, you have pages 293, 294, and 295. Lots of review sections, so go ahead, see how well you remember these things, work carefully, do your best, and I will see you a little bit later.